attending to this very important subject here. I also want to thank our sponsors that came in here. The Tabard Theatre, of course, which I just mentioned, Nirvana Soul for providing our refreshments and coffee. Yeah, better give them a big applause on that one right there. And Pinnacle, thank you so much for sponsoring this event right now. Okay, thank you all of you that came over here and the 157 or so people and counting that are online right now and tuning into us. So hopefully the audio is working and that you can hear all of us.
Not yet, but soon people are texting us madly that they're only seeing the video feed. We're working on it.
All right, because I don't sing and dance and I can't. With that right there. Okay. So I'll go ahead and keep talking right now because I assume this is being recorded and they go back on there. Yes? Okay. So today we're focusing on homeless solutions. And as the Downtown Association, of course, we're focused on the whole of downtown and everybody within it, like, residences, small businesses, big businesses, developers, nonprofits, and of course our unhoused population as well. And as we know, that unhoused population has been increasing and we need attention on it now, okay? I'll start off by saying that, from a personal standpoint, I don't think that being homeless is a crime, but I do think that there is, coinciding with this, a mental health issue and a substance abuse issue that's going on right now. So things that need to be addressed on that, okay? Audio good on this right now? But before we get into this, I just kind of want to say a couple of words about somebody that was very special to the Downtown Association, a former colleague of mine, a proud Spartan, proud member of the Downtown Association, Brian Bates, which we're having a memorial service for coming up later this month. I don't have the date on that right there. But right there. Brian unfortunately passed away a few weeks ago. And as a downtown resident, he was compassionate and understanding of our plight and the plight of the homeless. I just want to share a little bit with you about the type of person that he was. A little bit of his speech that he gave at his retirement from the SJDA. We have 6-year terms as he stepped off from this right now. And I think the words that he had are especially poignant for this topic that we have coming up today. So.
Gotcha, thank you. I think you get my titles out better than I do. And I will add to the fact that, yes, I am departing San Jose State at the end of the year, but I am not departing San Jose. I will continue to be a resident, to continue to be local, and look forward to being a part of this community in a new capacity. I want to say thank you to all of you for welcoming me to the Downtown Association, actually 8.5 years ago, Scott, I think it is. I got to fill an unexpired term before my 6 years started counting, so I've seen a lot through this board, and in 15 years that Downtown San Jose has been home. The boom and the bust of the Great Recession, the rev up in the 20-teens, and now the pandemic, and I'm really excited about a lot of what we saw in Scott's presentation today, to see how this organization moves forward in its new role, to see how this community moves forward with all of this interest in developing and growing this downtown. As part of that, I hope one of the other big changes I've seen in the 8.5 years I've been on the board is I've seen a change in the conversation around our unhoused population. And I hope that change continues. I hope we can find a way as a community, and I will continue to be part of this conversation, to respond with kindness, to respond with empathy, and to deal with this situation with humanity. The answer can't be no. The answer can't be we just have to do something else, we have to make it go away. The answer is we have to make our neighbors that are unhoused part of this community in the best way we can. And I've seen a real change in that conversation and the attitude toward that, up to and including last month when we had robust, meaningful conversation trying to figure out ways to have more inclusive housing. So my challenge to you, with great appreciation for the opportunity to be here, was to continue that evolution and to continue that thought process of how to include the unhoused unhoused population in caring and meaningful ways that help them become more full and participatory members of our community. So thank you.
I don't think I could have phrased it, our need to be both vigilant and compassionate any better than Brian did there. So in his spirit, we're going to continue on with this meeting. We know that public safety, perceived or real, can attract or deter businesses, and people on our board and our staff are working on this constantly and consistently. Our groundworks team is on the street 7 days a week, keeping our downtown clean and safe, so you know that our community could be safe. However, when you're on the front lines, there are implications to that. Over the last year, our groundwork staff have experienced more close calls, aggressive behavior, and unfortunately, several assaults by people living on our streets with severe, untreated mental illness. One of these incidents actually occurred this Wednesday when one of our staff members was removing graffiti from a building. This staff member was chased and pushed down by the individual in crisis. Fortunately, our groundwork staff member was unharmed, but understandably, they were emotionally shaken by the incident. They have courageously agreed to press charges. SGPD, responded, cited, and released the individual with a misdemeanor assault charge. If that incident sounds familiar, it's because it is. Our members have shared similar instances over the last few years, as have business owners and residents throughout San Jose. The process in place currently are not solving the challenge at hand. Individuals with severe co-occurring mental health and substance abuse challenges need intentional, collaborative, wraparound care. The efforts are not the responsibility of one city or one county agency, but are on all of our public and private social services and justice system partners. We, as the SJDA, have advocated for programs, funding, and accountability from our partners and offered our support to solve this challenge, not just for our downtown businesses and property owners, but for our county's most vulnerable residents. San Jose Downtown Association's commitment to collaborative efforts include the creation of the Social Impact Team with the renewal of the PBID, so that we have a team in the field creating trust with our unsheltered population and focusing on connecting with service provider partners. With our recent advocacy efforts coming to fruition, we thank the county for the recent implementation of the assisted outpatient treatment beginning on February 16th. We've already seen a glimmer of positive results. Over 50 referrals have been referred across the county, albeit there is much more to be done, but this is a great start. But we must do more. Communication, processes, and programs are needed to be more collaborative across jurisdictions. AOT referrals, MCAT, MCRT deployment are many of tools that can be used, but what else can we do? That's what we hope to hear from our speakers. I would like to introduce our first speaker, Supervisor Susan Ellenberger, District 4, County of Santa Clara. Recently, Supervisor Ellenberger and Lee declared a mental health and substance abuse crisis, which addresses a system of change in our approach to these issues, which we will discuss today. Supervisor Ellenberger is Vice President of the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors, as well as Chair of the county's Public Safety and Justice Committee, and Vice Chair of Children, Seniors, and Families Committee. So without ado, thank you so much for coming. Supervisor Ellenberger.
Let's see if this fancy setup works. I shall be right with you. There was a printer crisis this morning in my house, so as soon as this goes on, I will be all set. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Gumby, thank you for the really lovely tribute to Brian. May his memory be for a blessing. Thank you to the San Jose Downtown Association for inviting me this morning, to Jonathan and the team at the Tabard Theatre, and to Sue Young, the County Behavioral Health Division Director, and Jacky Morales-Ferrand, the Director of Housing for the City of San Jose, who will add valuable information about city and county work on solutions to our critical housing shortage and the resulting large number of people who are unhoused, many of whom are chronically so. There are, tragically, thousands of unhoused families and individuals who struggle daily to survive in our valley. We aren't particularly aware of most of them. They are overcrowding into small living quarters, sleeping in cars, RVs, or on friends' couches, or finding temporary solutions in shelters. Some of them are working, getting their kids to school, and trying to find their way back to self-sufficiency. We are, on the other hand, very aware of the subset of unhoused individuals who are entirely unsheltered, sleeping in storefronts, under freeway overpasses, along creeks and rivers. And of that group, many appear to be struggling with mental health or substance use disorders. Some of them may make us feel uncomfortable or unsafe. Some may pose actual threats to their own safety or the safety of others. And as Gumby mentioned, I was also made aware that earlier this week, a member of the Groundworks team was assaulted, allegedly by a person who's unhoused. I am so thankful the crew member wasn't seriously injured, but of course it is yet another reminder of the urgency of addressing the nexus of public safety, mental illness, substance use disorders, and the condition of being unhoused. But let me start by first separating these challenges before bringing them back together. It is not inevitable that mental illness, substance use disorders, or even poverty will result in a person becoming homeless. This is evidenced by the fact that there are many states that have much poorer populations, higher rates of unemployment, higher rates of substance overdoses, and higher reports of severe mental illness, and yet have a far lower per capita rate of homelessness. And while being unhoused can certainly exacerbate existing underlying conditions or even lead to mental illness or substance use disorders, the inverse has not proven to correlate. In fact, the cities and counties that have the highest per capita numbers of unhoused residents are actually high-income communities with very low unemployment and average reports of substance use and severe mental illness. What these communities have in common is an exorbitant cost of living, where rents or mortgage payments exceed 40% of middle to low-wage earners' incomes. And in turn, those high rents and mortgages are a result of an undersupply of housing, often due to high costs of labor, materials, and land. I'm guessing this sounds like somewhere you all know. Regardless of what you are going to hear today of city and county continued and expanded stepped up efforts to address mental illness, substance use disorders, and public safety, and we are doing a lot, please understand that we are not going to eliminate or even drastically ameliorate our population of unhoused residents if we do not build a great deal more housing. Dense, multifamily, smaller lot, affordable housing. Nonetheless, I will share with you what we are doing not only to increase housing production, but to significantly expand mental and behavioral health services and to expand safe, therapeutic, and effective alternatives to incarceration whenever possible. The county continues to invest in permanent supportive housing units, in affordable development projects in many of our cities, including, of course, San Jose. We have completed or in the process of completing close to 40 projects. I'll say more about that in a bit. And we have housed thousands of individuals through these efforts. But I understand that it is hard to appreciate that fact when the number of visibly unhoused and seemingly unstable individuals continues to increase. So let me talk about how we are working to serve that population that has much higher needs, that can be service or housing resistant, and that may pose a danger to themselves or others. Our state, and therefore our county, has long underinvested in proper and comprehensive treatment for people with severe mental illness and substance use disorders. We have increasingly relied over the past half century on law enforcement as a response to behavior that's triggered by something other than a malicious intent to do harm, and on our jails as poor and ultimately ineffective and sometimes downright dangerous substitutes for care and treatment. Police are called to respond to people in crisis far more often than they're called to respond to crimes in progress. I understand that people who call into police want the problem to disappear. They are genuinely afraid of or justifiably upset by behavior that they are witnessing or may be experiencing. Law enforcement officers are loath to respond to these calls. They present challenging circumstances that can endanger both the officers and the people in crisis. And any such solution, defined for the moment as the removal of the person in crisis from a specific location, as Gumby noted, is very short-term, often ineffective, and truly not a solution. Whether the person is transferred to jail or to emergency medical services, we haven't actually increased public safety, and we haven't helped the person in crisis. If EMS is overcrowded, a person may be quickly released. If a person is booked into jail, they are likely to further decompensate, their health becomes more fragile, and they are released in worse condition when they entered. And unfortunately, in our county jail, people with mental illnesses have been killed by correctional officers, Mr. Tyree, left paralyzed on their cell floors for more than 24 hours due to neglect by custody, health, and correctional staff, Mr. Hogan, or allowed to repeatedly bang their head into the interior walls of a transport van with no intervention from custody staff until the person suffered a traumatic brain injury from which he will not recover, Mr. Nunez. In addition to being horrific examples of what can happen to people in custody, those three incidents have cost the county, meaning you, the taxpayers, a total of nearly $20 million. Now imagine if we had spent that $20 million on our system of care rather than punishment. Over the past several years, the county has worked to expand the types and levels of support we provide to people who are experiencing mental health crises, serious mental illness, and our substance use disorders, both directly within our own health and hospital system and in partnership with community-based providers. In just the last year, the county spent more than $600 million for behavioral health care, which includes supportive housing services, intensive wraparound services, school-based services, community clinics, and other essential measures. But we need to do more. And in my view, more looks like three things. We need to expand our workforce. We need to build and or contract for additional facilities, and we need to expand access to services. I am advocating for significantly increased spending this coming fiscal year in order to expand community treatments, including locked inpatient, partial hospitalization and day programs, substance use disorder treatment, and outpatient care. And all of this, let's make it happen, but I appreciate the gesture. All of this demands a steady workforce of clinicians, peer workers, and others to staff these programs and facilities. In the immediate future, meaning fiscal 2022-2023, we must contract for or prepare to build additional detox facilities and IMD beds. Those are midterm secure facilities. IMD stands for Institutes for Mental Disease. And in order for people to step down from IMDs to make space for people from EMS that require longer than a 72-hour hold, we need supportive community housing models into which those who are ready can move. In January, the mic has just had it. It's too much. In January, the Board of Supervisors unanimously approved my referral in partnership with Supervisor Lee to declare mental illness and substance use disorders a public health crisis. That means we must fund the workforce, the services, and the facilities necessary to alleviate that crisis. I'd like to issue a call of action to all of you to reach out to my colleagues, I can't, Brown Act and such, to be certain that they will prioritize funding these specific increases in our upcoming budget conversations. Please join me in advocating for additional funds for treatment slots, expanded workforce, and care facilities. Please help me advocate for the resources we need to scale up a real, comprehensive continuum of care, not just temporary patches and cycles of incarceration. I will share with you a few strategies that are now in place or soon to launch as part of the current fiscal year budget that will continue to improve our local system. The county has launched the new Community Mobile Response program that does not involve law enforcement for people experiencing a mental health crisis. This program is being piloted in 3 areas, San Jose, North County, and Gilroy. The responders will include a non-law enforcement team comprised of a mental health clinician and an EMT. This program will complement other existing mobile crisis response teams in the county, some of which are embedded with law enforcement agencies. Those are often referred to as the PERT responders. In July of 2022, the National 988 Mental Health Response Line will go live and connect to the back end of the county's mental health call center, suicide prevention program, and crisis response teams. This tool is designed to expand access and help residents call for assistance without relying on 911 or remembering the 10-digit suicide crisis number. On May 3rd, again in response to the public health crisis resolution I led on, the Board of Supervisors is expecting to receive a comprehensive report on behavioral health system strategies, including needs for additional local facilities. AOT, also mentioned earlier, was launched in the county in February and is currently accepting referrals from families, providers, and law enforcement agencies for people with severe mental illness who are disconnected from care but have had multiple interactions with emergency services. More than 300 referrals have been received to date, and staff is working to assess and connect individuals to care. In many cases, a client chooses to accept voluntary treatment without progressing all the way to a court order. But please, please remember that AOT is assisted outpatient treatment. Whether voluntary or compulsory, it does not result in a person's hospitalization. So when we think about that tool, it's important to understand that it is not a solution for a person who is unhoused. It is ideally a solution to their illness. The solution to homelessness, again, is housing. So back to housing to bring us full circle. As of December 31st, the Measure A Permanent Supportive Housing Program has committed nearly $740 million, of which $25 million has been committed to the first-time homebuyer loan program, nearly $12 million to a supportive housing fund for pre-development loans, $25 million for a bridge loan to Hillview Court, $155 million for 20 property acquisitions, $800,000 for 4 partnership projects. I'm feeling like an auctioneer now. And $520 million for 35 developments and renovation projects, with 17 locations being located in District 4, which I represent. District 4 includes the cities of Campbell and Santa Clara, and a bunch of neighborhoods in West San Jose and the unincorporated pocket of Burbank. I am really proud that District 4 projects like the DuPont family apartments off of San Carlos, the Hub on Parkmore, the Yigbee, yes, in God's backyard, development at Emmanuel Lutheran Church at Meridian and Moore Park, and the AgriHood in the city of Santa Clara will serve Santa Clara County families, youth, young adults, and older adults. Programs like Measure A and Project Home Key have had measurable impacts on moving people out of homelessness. Our extensive rental assistance program has helped thousands of families remain housed, particularly during the pandemic. Earlier this year, Supervisor Chavez and I announced an initiative to focus on ending family homelessness. The Heading Home campaign is an effort to house 1,200 unhoused families over the course of a year, and then 600 per year annually going forward. This would get us to functional zero, which means we are getting people out of homelessness faster than they are falling into it. The campaign is leveraging 1,200 emergency housing vouchers and is expanding rapid rehousing programs, homelessness prevention strategies, and new affordable and supportive housing developments to provide help for these families. So here is my second call to action on this item, and I hope you're all taking copious notes. We need landlords to accept these vouchers. These are for families who need 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, families whose kids may go to school with yours, families with parents who may be serving you at a restaurant or ringing up your groceries. The vouchers guarantee timely market rate rental payments. Please, please, if you are a landlord, or if you know landlords or represent landlords, please encourage them to learn more about this campaign and seriously consider welcoming a family and a monthly check into their operation. I'll continue to share information with residents, and I welcome feedback on further ideas on how to improve the well-being of our residents in need of treatment while promoting safety in our neighborhoods. You can reach me at supervisor.ellenberg@bos.sccgov.org. You can sign up for the District 4 newsletter at district4.sccgov.org/newsletter for more updates. Thank you so much for your interest in this topic. Thank you for inviting me to talk with you today, and I look forward to conversation and advocacy and action.
Thank you very much for that, Supervisor Ellenberg. I can tell you personally that makes me very happy to hear, and San Jose Downtown Association will advocate for your thoughtful increase in approach towards these issues. So I'm very grateful for that. Next, I would like to introduce Sue Young, okay. Our County Behavioral Health Division Director. Sue is a longtime county employee with a background in supportive housing and behavioral health.
Let me turn it on.
Right. Thank you for the invitation, and I feel like after Supervisor Ellenberg's little talk about AOT mentioning it, I have nothing more really to say. But I mean, I think, you know, again, I'm Sue Jung. I'm a division director overseeing our newly implemented assisted outpatient treatment program. As you know, you guys are well aware, we have been partnering with all of our partners, you know, community members as well. In really launching this, we've done many talks with the community members as well, just to really let the community know what this program is all about. Next slide. So this is, you know, this is something that you're very familiar with. We've done many talks with the community members and partners, just really about what are some of the basic criteria. As Supervisor Ellenberg mentioned, you know, this is really for people who are seriously mentally ill, people who have failed to really engage in services due to their mental illness. There may have been many attempts to try to get them services that they need, but really, because of their state, they are just not able to engage. They have been hospitalized because of their mental illness, and you know, due to just severity, that their just condition is just getting worse and worse. So we've had multiple discussions with many of the downtown safety committee, as well as Chloe and groundwork staff, actually, just to really have a discussion on what are some of the concerns, who are the people that you've been kind of working with over the years that you are really concerned about, and that we've actually worked together in going out to really meet with them, be introduced, continually doing just really engagement, you know. What we really want to do is, even though the assisted outpatient treatment program is, it can be a court-mandated program, we really want to first try to engage with them and outreach to them so that they are more willingly and voluntarily getting into the program. Because the history is that they have resisted services due to their mental illness, that's really difficult. It's a challenging process. But so far we have been successful in really working with them and really having them agree to the services voluntarily. Next slide. Really our goal really with this AOT or assisted outpatient treatment is really provide services that they need at the time. What we need is to provide outpatient program, combination of mental health treatment along with housing. As mentioned before, without housing, we just cannot treat the whole person. And housing has to be part of the treatment. And so we recognize that. So we are also, my background also with supportive housing first. Housing has to be part of the treatment. And that we utilize housing as one of the core treatment to really engage with them and get them engaged in services while we're working with them. Housing, again, is a big concern, as you know. Really locating any available units to place them and get them housed is a challenge. It's been difficult. So one of the things that I've done is kind of pilot what we call shared housing. And so currently we're kind of working on, we acquired a house with many rooms, and we have individuals who are unhoused, who need a lot of treatment, really quickly be able to move into the house. There's going to be treatment team that's actually already there. They'll come to the house to provide care and treatment while the individuals actually live there. It's been challenging to really get that whole program started, but at the same time, it's also been really helpful in identifying unhoused individuals who need help, who need housing, to quickly move into a house where treatment is also provided there. So we're officially going to be launching in July, trying to expand this housing program, especially for people in our AOT program, as well as other very intensive outpatient treatment programs. Next. So this is really just quickly, our goal with AOT is continue to interrupt the cycle, because what we know, as you know, is I'm sure you have called many of mobile crisis because of the incidents that's happening on the streets here. Because of your concerns of many of the unhoused individuals on the streets. And so, our goal is to interrupt that cycle. Our goal is to try to reduce really the utilization of continual emergency services, but also, reduce really homelessness through providing services and housing together. So this is how you refer, when you call our behavioral health call center. Number 7 is, if you press number 7, it will connect you directly to our staff or our number. You could leave a message or, unless my staff are out in the field working, trying to reach out to people, they will answer the phone and you could work with them. There's also an email address where you could actually send the email, the referral form directly there, and then we will kind of look at all the referral forms and reach out to you guys. All this information is in our behavioral health website, as mentioned here. So please feel free to go kind of, look at what are some of the information that we provide. Also, the slides, I actually gave it to Chloe, so you guys have it. So feel free to distribute to anyone who may be interested in learning more about it, so that you have that access as well. Thank you.
Quick question. Just one quick question. We did have a little bit of Q&A for this, but I wanted to ask you, just because it's fresh in our minds as the Downtown Association, given the assault that we had on Wednesday. So how do we take somebody like that person that committed the assault, that was essentially released right there? How would that integrate into an AOT referral?
Yeah. So I think in that case, mobile crisis could be one of the ways to call to kind of assist with the crisis. But another resource that's available is Crisis Stabilization Unit, and it's operated by our contractor Momentum. It's in San Jose, And so that's a place where people could voluntarily go there to just kind of stabilize. You could stay there up to 23 hours and 59 minutes, to really kind of stabilize. And there's nurses and there are other staff on site to kind of help them stabilize during that time. So those are the ways. Obviously, I think you've done all the right thing by calling the police officer in that incident. But I think really there's no, unfortunately, answer by saying you call this number. I think it's a combination and collaboration of many different entities working together. So, mobile crisis is one way, but I would encourage crisis stabilization as well. I have the number, I'll give it to Chloe, if that will be helpful as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, so unfortunately, a lot of the mentally ill in our downtown area ultimately get off the streets like there's repeat offenders of the crimes. Unfortunately, a lot of our unhoused, the mentally ill in the downtown area, eventually get off the streets, unfortunately, through repeat offenders of some criminal activity. And the police force is that, coming to a lot of those cases. Are you planning to work directly with the police force for them to identify those who may be mentally ill, and when they are going to jails and maybe coming out in 24 hours, that seems like it'd be a good time to then offer some of these services, mentally ill services, for those who are in the prisons currently. And I know other cities have been successful in doing that.
We actually have a mobile crisis team that has a law enforcement liaison working together. So they actually go on these rides together. They actually collaborate with our police officers in these responses together. So we do that. I can't tell you about the whole loop around of like if they get arrested, is there a connection back? That I can't tell you. And I would need to kind of follow up with people in the department. But definitely we do have a law enforcement liaison working together with our clinicians and police officers.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll need chances to talk to them a little bit later. We need to move on, though, to our last speaker. That would be Jacky Morales-Ferrand. Correctly? Good. Director of Housing from the City of San Jose. Now, Jacky has devoted her career to addressing housing insecurity. As Director of Housing for the City of San Jose, Jacky oversees critical support services and affordable housing preservation and production. So, Jacky?
Let me take yours, and that way we keep them individualized.
That's good, thank you. So I want to thank the San Jose Downtown Association for this invitation and the theater for having me here and giving me my own mic. Supervisor Ellenberg really did a great overview of the many programs that the City of San Jose actually partners with the county in addressing homelessness. Measure A is one of the places where the city often invests with the county to ensure that many of the Measure A developments have actually occurred or are being built in the City of San Jose. We also are a partner in the county's initiative to end homelessness for families. And then finally, we're a partner in the rental assistance programs that we have been working nonstop with Destination Home and our nonprofit providers to keep people in their homes. I'm really proud, frankly, of the partnership that we have with the county. I have to say the Housing Department and the Office of Supportive Housing are one of, if not the only, agencies between the city and the county that work on a weekly basis together in coordination, trying to address what you all must feel, and I certainly understand, seems like one of the most challenging problems facing our community. So while the county has traditionally focused on the services side of the equation, the city has focused on the housing side. So historically, we have been investing in affordable housing and have done that since the old days of redevelopment, with over 19,000 affordable, deed-restricted apartments within the city of San Jose. Perhaps what we didn't do as well in the past is that we didn't focus our initiatives in serving the extremely low income. And thanks to the county and their commitment to provide the services that are needed when we build the housing that we're building now, we have been able to shift our focus in producing housing for people who are formerly homeless. Next slide. I've been asked to talk about the housing developments that are in our community. And the first one that I wanted to focus on was the Interim housing site in Lot E. So in 2019, when we did our last homeless count, we identified that San Jose had almost 6,000 people who live on our streets on any given night. And as you know, the pandemic has only made the problem seem more visible as people who have come into our public spaces as we all remained housed. Since March of 2020, the city of San Jose, in partnership again with the county, have housed over 6,000 people countywide. And nearly 3,000 people have been permanently housed even in this pandemic. And yet I know you must all be saying, how can you have housed 3,000 people and yet we see what we see in our streets every day? And the reason why is because the demand for our services is even greater than what we're able to serve on a daily basis or yearly basis. And what that means is for every person that we house, 2 people become homeless at the same time. And so the problem is getting more drastic on a daily basis. And while behavioral health issues, which include the mental health and drug dependency that have already been talked about, are certainly represented in the homeless population, homelessness is fundamentally a problem of extreme poverty and the cost of our housing. In the United States, we just have this fundamental disconnect that as long as we sell and we trade and we rent housing for the most expensive price, trying to serve the poorest people in our community will always be a challenge. And as a result, that's why we have to have a housing department in order to provide the subsidies to ensure that we can deliver these apartments at a price that people can afford. Next slide. So one of the solutions that our city council has prioritized is the development of emergency interim housing. And what it is temporary housing for people to help them to get stabilized while they develop a housing plan. It provides residents with individual units, and I'll show you a couple of them, but it includes shared amenities. So the individual units will have their own private bathrooms, but they'll have a shared kitchen and shared community space. The goal of interim housing is really to stabilize people for a short period of time. But ultimately, what we would like to see is people transition into a permanent home. Whether it's a shared living environment in a smaller community, or if it's in their own individual apartment, or if they're renting with someone else, or they have found their family and friends in some other state, the goal is to get them permanently housed. In addition to providing a safe place for people to be, we also provide supportive services so that people can begin to address underlying conditions. What the Housing First model has shown, in the olden days, when I started in housing, I'll start from the beginning, how the system addressed homelessness is what we used to put people into shelters, and we said, if you behave and you follow the rules, then we'll put you into transitional housing. And then if you can demonstrate that you can live in an apartment and abide by the lease and participate in your treatment programs, then we'll put you into an apartment that you can call your own. And what the research has shown is that people are just as successful, and if not more, if we put them into housing first and skip all those steps. So ideally, if the system were effective and working as well as we would like it to work, we would be building housing faster so that people could get into homes more quickly. But because of the way housing is financed and because of the high costs of our area, we are not able to keep up, and so interim housing provides us a temporary solution before the apartments are built. Next slide. So this is an example of one of the interim housing sites that we have in San Jose. And as you can see, we're using modular construction. It can get built very quickly off-site, gets delivered on the site, and then we're able to move people as quickly as possible. And you can see in this particular example, we also try to include other community amenities such as gardens and dog runs, so that people can really have a safe place for themselves and begin to feel stable. What the research shows is, as we were thinking about mental health issues, and I was thinking about the horrific incident that happened here, is that when people do have mental health issues, they really begin to deteriorate much more quickly when they are on the streets. Next slide. So who will live at our Lot E community? So the first priority is to provide shelter for people who live near the facility. Our city council has made it very clear that when a community accepts one of these facilities, that we really want to ensure that we're then helping that community to provide housing for people that live closest to that site. So that's priority number one. The second priority is we are implementing a jobs program called San Jose Bridge, which is a program that gives homeless people an opportunity to start with some employment at a $15 or $16 an hour wage, and then they're offered job training so that they can transition into a more permanent employment program. While I am the housing director, I am very clear that jobs are the other side of housing. So if people can have better paying jobs, then perhaps they may not need the affordable housing we're building. And lastly, we're also going to be placing in Lot E people who are already enrolled in a housing program but are waiting for a placement. Next slide. So Lot E is going to include 76 modular units. Again, we always have a community kitchen, laundry room. I talked about a dog run. We'll have a picnic area. We'll make some landscaping. We have parking, and then it'll be fenced. Next slide. We have broken ground on Lot E in February. The site is currently under construction, and we hope we will be welcoming our first residents in October. Next slide.
Where is it?
Lot E is right over by the police station. We're taking a portion of their parking lot, in fact, to put in the facility. The good news is that it is a site that is owned by the city of San Jose, which allows us to keep the site as long as it's needed. The next development that I was asked to give you an update on was the Pacific Motor Inn, which is located on 455 2nd Street. It has 72 rooms, it's 3 stories, and we have been talking for a while about submitting an application to Home Key in order to use those 76 rooms immediately as interim shelter. There was quite a reaction when we made the announcement that we were pursuing this particular site for interim housing. And as a result, we were approached by West Bank to see if we had actually, they asked me to come tour their site and to see the developments that they were working on the exact same block. And as we were sharing both what the city wanted to do and what they wanted to do, we actually started talking about, could there be a partnership between West Bank and PATH, our affordable housing developer, to build something together. And so we have not submitted our Home Key application because PATH and West Bank have been working diligently to try to develop a partnership so that we can create a mixed income development, with half of it being a site that will be an affordable development and the other half being a market rate development. But that will be complementary in their design so that it will actually build out the entire block that West Bank was working on. So we have not yet completed the agreements in order to apply to Home Key, but I am confident that that partnership will be fully realized and that we will be making an application. So again, what will we be doing with the site? So in the short term, it will act as one of the interim housing sites that I just described that are short-term in nature. And then the goal is, we believe it'll take at least 3 years for the developers to work on a new development plan that hopefully you will all participate in and give us feedback, and it will get redeveloped into, again, a mixed income, affordable apartment and market rate apartment. Next slide. And then the last development I just wanted to give you an update on, because it is right downtown, is ARIA. It broke ground in April of 2021. It's scheduled to complete in February of 2023. It has 87 apartments that are studios and 2 bedrooms. And that short-term and long-term should not be there. That was from my other slide. It is a permanent affordable housing site, and it is one of the sites that actually does not have housing for people who are formerly unhoused, because the housing department does do a full range of housing, but it is a site that will provide affordable housing for a range of incomes. And again, that will be done early next year. So with that, I'm done with my presentation. Next slide. So I did want to thank you all, but I was inspired by the supervisor for a call to action, and I was inspired by the words that were earlier spoken, that housing is the solution. You can't say no, or do not say no. And what I would say to you in our call to action is that we really need you to be working with us, with our developers, to help us to make these developments successful. If we are going to make them successful, we need all of you to participate. So I really appreciate the time, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to ask Jacky a question. And
A little closer to the microphone, and then we can not. It won't feedback.
I don't like these. Go closer? Or...
Closer.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll talk low. I'd like to have everybody listen to my question, please, in this room, because this is a very important question to Jacky, who is the Director of Housing. Since the City of San Jose is not doing anything at this point and not working on where to house the people under the FAA site, and nothing is being done at this point. They're starting to sweep and abate the people over there. I want to know what the city is doing. At this point, the city is not stepping up to help those unhoused folks. And if you don't want these unhoused folks going in your downtown, all of you have to step up and demand that the city do something, because they are not doing anything. And I am there every day with those people. They're crying for help. There's no housing. And I'd like to know from Jacky what exactly that you might be doing for these people, since none of this Lot E will be ready, no RV parks will be ready. So please, let me know, Jacky.
This is microphone because we don't want to have cross-contamination because of potential COVID crisis.
You want me to grab my mic?
I can bring it down to you. Yeah, let me grab it for you.
Thank you, Gail, who's a longtime homeless advocate, with your question. So, number one, it's completely inaccurate to say nothing has been done. We've housed 64 people that are living in the site right now, and the city council has expressed a commitment to want to ensure that we are able to bring housing resources before the site is fully abated. I'm happy to report that, again, because of our strong partnership with the county, because the city cannot do this alone, we have worked on a housing plan that we plan to take to the city council next month for their approval. And our commitment is to offer everyone on the site who's currently there, so there are 130 people that are on the site right now, a housing solution. And that housing solution will include a range of options. Some of it will be interim housing because we currently have over 300 facilities already open, not facilities, but beds. The second will be permanent supportive housing, which again is in partnership with the county. And the third solution is we have rapid rehousing, which means we offer rental assistance to people so that they can pay for their rent. So we do have a full plan. We're going to be implementing that plan, and the goal is to do that before the site is fully abated.
Is it going to be abated June 30th?
This is our next one.
That would be a council decision.
Okay, I want to first of all thank very much Supervisor Ellenberger, Sue, and Jackie for coming out and giving us some clarity and insight on what's going on. And then I'm going to move on to the next action item for this meeting before we wrap things up. First of all is our Downtown Association committees, ways for people to go ahead and get involved. As the San Jose Downtown Association president, I've had all the board members pick a committee and get on it. This is one of your best ways of getting involved. But these committees are not just for the board association members. Many of them, if you have an interest on supporting, coming out, having your voice out, any one of these, many of them rather, are good ones for you. Okay? Next slide. And finally, I want to close up that we have our volunteer street cleanup tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 12 on 5th Street in Santa Clara. So if you want to come out, actively participate, pick up some trash, beautify our downtown. I'll be out there picking up. You can hang out with me. Me will talk a little bit more about any of the issues that we have going on right there. But that would be tomorrow. Tomorrow, right? It's the 16th. Okay. Yeah, so that's what we have for the agenda right now. Be hanging around the Tabard Theatre. I want to thank the Tabard Theatre for hosting this. I want to thank Nirvana Soul right there for providing the refreshments. I want to thank Pinnacle for sponsoring. Thank you very much. And we will see you at the next meeting. Thank you very much.